And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by an anonymous viewer who writes, "Good afternoon, John and team. I think the Disney Plus show I've most been looking forward to is Andor. I like the way you describe it as seeing the part of the rebellion that has to get its hands dirty. They've been saying they're going to release it in November, but I just saw a report that said it could be coming as early as August now, which is just 5 months away. Do you think we'll get this show early, and how excited are you for this show?" All right, thanks a lot for sending this in, man. And yeah, listen, I remember I was quite fascinated when they announced that they were doing an Andor show, primarily because the thing I loved about that character was he represented a side of the rebellion in Star Wars that we had never seen. We talk about the rebellion, oh, these brave freedom fighters, and yes, that's what the rebellion is. But if you're going to have a rebellion, some dirty things are going to need to be done. Some people are going to have to get their hands dirty. Blood's going to be spilled. And that is an aspect of the rebellion that, other than getting a quick shade of Saw Gerrera, we never really got to see. And with Cassian Andor in Rogue One, we got to see a little bit of that. He had to be ruthless in some things, and we think, well, that's not what a good guy would do. When you're doing a rebellion, you're going to need the people that sometimes has to do the things you don't want to shine a light on. And I thought the idea of doing a Star Wars show, and I'm always asking for Star Wars to expand their galaxy a bit here, to do a show that looks at that side of things, I thought was really fascinating. Now, the one big thing going against Andor in my own head has been the fact, man, I'm not a huge guy on going backwards in our storytelling and doing prequel stuff, especially when we know exactly how it ends. And if you've watched Rogue One, you know how Cassian Andor meets his end.
On the beach, John.
On the beach!
On the beach.
What could be better? A beach, a beautiful, very bright sunset.
With a lovely lady.
With a beautiful girl. What a better way to spend your day, even if it's your last day. But again, we know there are no future adventures of Cassian Andor. We know there's no future, bonkers misadventures of K2SO and his buddy Cassian. We know this because not long after the events of the show, he dies. They both die.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So I've always had that kind of duality in my head, but still, overall, the idea of watching a show like this, looking at the darker side of the rebellion, had me excited. And you're right. They've always been very vague about where it's coming. They've often then used phrases like Q4, which probably means December or November. Then some reports came out saying November. But now it sounds like they may be moving this thing all the way up to August. And it could be coming out then. This comes to us from the folks... Oop, wrong one. Sorry about that. This comes to us from folks from The Direct who write the following. The Bespin Bulletin, which is a Star Wars kind of insider outlet, shared that per their sources, Star Wars Andor may be set to premiere on Disney Plus in August of 2022. This will be the next big project to stream on Disney Plus following Marvel Studios' Ms. Marvel, which will debut on June 8th. Of note is that Andor Season 2 is also set to begin production in the fall. If the series follows a similar production pattern to the projects in the Mandoverse, Lucasfilm may be setting Andor up to be an annual August release for the next several years. Reports indicate the series will be in 3 seasons. And though there's no use of the volume for the project. This is interesting. Pre-existing sets and costumes can significantly cut down the amount of pre-production needed. Obi-Wan Kenobi's teaser trailer presented an astonishingly cinematic feel for a streaming series, and Andor looks to be following the trend by shooting on location with real sets.
In space?
In space. Real space. No. So, there's a couple of things here. Number one, this would make perfect sense. Well, actually, what I should say, number one, is that we don't know this is true. This news is not coming to us from Lucasfilm, from Variety, from whatever. It's coming from a source that has been right several times before, so it's at least worth discussing. Number two, if it were coming out in August, that does make perfect sense because would be coming on the heels of Ms. Marvel. If not immediately after, then shortly thereafter. So there is a window there for that to come out. Number 3, I would be thrilled. I would love to not have to wait that much longer, because if we're going to get Obi-Wan May 25th, and if Obi-Wan ends up being as good as we're hoping it will be, I ain't going to want to wait too much longer for another dose of Star Wars. So that's the other thing on top of all that. The other thing that I didn't realize was that they did not use the volume for shooting Andor. The volume, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the volume is that big sound stage that they developed where all the sets are actually virtual on screens in this big circular screen thing, which is where they shot 90% of Mandalorian, which is why it's always in the desert. It's just a lot easier to make it look like the desert, but that's just a guy in a room with the scene on a screen in the background. And what they've been able to do with that has been amazing.
Well, the backgrounds move and the parallax, the cameras.
Everything's
it's an
connected
amazing
together,
technology.
and they know what to do. When you move the camera, they know the scene has to move, and everything is just
amazing.
Perfectly done. And by the way, Obi-Wan did use the volume.
A lot. You
Yes.
can tell.
A lot.
But that's okay.
But for Cassian to break that mold and say, no, we're doing live sets, other than outer space, I'm going to assume. We're going to be using live sets and we're not using volume. That's kind of interesting to me. Anyway, Rob, where's your anticipation level right now for Andor? What do you think of the pros and the cons of the show? And what do you think about the idea of it maybe opening it up this August?
Well, I feel this is the Flash of the Star Wars streaming shows, in that they've been making this for a long time. And we've heard that they had these scripts written and they had to rewrite them again, and people came and went, and in terms of the staff. But that said, like you, John, of all other than Obi-Wan, this is probably the show that I'm most excited about, because like you said, it's about the rebellion having to get themselves dirty. This is about, a more of a spy thriller, espionage, war is hell kind of a show. And I love Cassian Andor. And first of all, Cassian Andor is one of the coolest Star Wars names of the modern era. And not that means anything, but I thought Rogue One was the best Disney Star Wars movie that they put out. I liked that glimpse of the rebellion. And the thing about having a rebellion, John, is just from a storytelling standpoint, the kind of stories that they can tell. War is hell. And in the Star Wars universe, it's like, well, it's called Star Wars, but everybody's having a great time. No, they're not. Planets are blowing up. Whole civilizations are being snuffed out of existence. And what is that like? And I think that this show is going to delve into that, and I'm really excited for it. And like you, the idea that it isn't shot on the volume stages gives them a lot more leeway to move the camera in different ways and actually go on to different locations than just shooting in Tatooine. So there's nothing about this show that doesn't excite me. And maybe, just maybe, John, they'll re-release all the hot toys of the Rogue One figures I missed out on that are exorbitantly expensive on the secondary market.
Here's another interesting thing we didn't talk about. One of the things that I think a lot of people loved about Cassian Andor in Rogue One, I know I count myself in this, was the relationship and dynamic between him and K2SO. Alan Tudyk has said he's not in this season.
Right.
He says, if the show does continue, which apparently it is because they're going to start production on season 2 soon, he says, I'll be there. I ain't going to lie to you. This takes a significant amount of wind out of my enthusiasm sail. I'm still looking forward to it for all the reasons I described earlier. I am. But when I initially heard about Andor, what I really thought about was I can watch an entire show, episodes of just Cassian and K2SO talking back and forth. As a matter of fact, at D23, when they brought out to make the announcement of this thing, they didn't only have him. Alan Tudyk came out on stage too. And they together announced that they were doing a Cassian Andor show, which makes me think that maybe there was a plan initially to have K2SO in it.
Well, but he's an Imperial droid. They have to show you how K2SO came into or Cassian Andor acquired him or was able to liberate him.
I would have been fine if he was just there.
Maybe we see we're going to see Andor get recruited by the rebellion. Maybe we'll see his life before he joined.
Yeah, I know. Look, it may make perfect story sense. And yes, I always say story comes first. Absolutely. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that knowing that K2 with him there is not going to be the tandem that we see. We're not going to have that buddy cop kind of feel to it a little bit.
But
that I kind of was looking forward to.
We're working up to it.
We're working up to it in season 2, if we get there. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Do you have a lot of excitement for Andor? Maybe yes, maybe no. Do you like the idea of them moving up? Maybe you think closer to December is where they've been having a lot of success with the Star Wars stuff. Whatever you guys are feeling, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, Policy Genius. Life insurance can give you peace of mind that if something happens to you, your loved ones would have a financial cushion for rent or mortgage payments, loans, education costs, and everyday expenses. Policy Genius is your one-stop shop to find and buy the insurance that you need. You can click in the description or head to policygenius.com/Campea and answer a few questions. In just a few minutes, you can compare personalized quotes from top companies to find your lowest price. You could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius, because the team of licensed experts at Policy Genius will help you understand your options and apply for the policy that you choose. The Policy Genius team works for you, not for the insurance companies. You can trust them to offer unbiased help and advocate for you at every step until you're covered. And to make things even better, Policy Genius doesn't add on extra fees, they don't sell your info to third parties, and Policy Genius has thousands of 5-star reviews across Google and Trustpilot. So right now, head to policygenius.com/Campea to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save.